Hello. Are you getting me?
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
This is
Are you
Dr.
getting me?
Yeah, kindly wait, sir. We will introduce you.
Okay.
Then you can take over.
All right.
Good evening, one and all. We welcome you to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we take the sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today we have with us Professor Mai Bangura. Now I invite Miss Mary to introduce our speaker for the day. Mary ma'am, you can unmute yourself.
I thank Dr. Ravindra sir and Sri Holistic Health Foundation and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts and Science for giving me to introduce Professor Mai Bangura. Mai Bangura Senior is the current Director of the Directorate of Development Research and Innovations in the proposed Every Nation University, currently Every Nation Polytechnic in Bio-Second City of the Republic, Sierra Leone in West Africa. Mai Bangura sir has completed a 10-year dedicated service 2012 to 2022 as first principal of the designated College of Training Civil and Public Service called Civil Service Training College CSTC in the Republic of Sierra Leone. Additionally, he is an international educational and development consultant with more than 25 years experience in Africa and UK, possessing qualification in leadership development, teaching, sociology, special education needs, examine and accessing learners and many more. He possesses a very good interpersonal relationship with colleagues, mentees, students, customs and other beneficiary alongside a strong ability to handle stress and meet deadlines. His basic qualification are diploma in higher English teaching certificates in Sierra Leone and the UK, BSc honors in sociology, masters in sociology, postgraduate diploma in special educational needs, doctorate in management and PhD in educational leadership and policy studies. He has contributed immensely to his home country, Sierra Leone, in curriculum development in the following institution and organization: the former Milton Margain College of Education and Technology, now Milton Margain University; former Institute of Advanced Management and Technology, now University of Management and Technology; former Fatima Institute, now University of McNee; former McNee Teachers College, now EBK University; UNDP consultants for the establishment of civil service training of Sierra Leone; national consultant for the Sierra Leone Peace and Law Enforcement Academy, SLIEA; UNDP consultant for the establishment of a Center of Parliamentary Studies in the Parliament of Sierra Leone. We are immense pleasure to have you, sir, on our board. You can, the floor is yours, sir. You can continue with the session, sir.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, colleagues.
Yeah, over to you, Professor, for your session on official language, communication in formal education as a factor of cultural alienation in Africa. Over to you, sir, for your session.
Thank you, introducer, and also thank you, moderator. I have the greatest pleasure to be with you, viewers and listeners. As you have just heard, my topic is official language communication in formal education as a factor of cultural alienation in Africa. Simply, I mean, the use of official language today has contributed largely to eliminate the African culture. The presentation will have the following. First, an overview. Then I will look at global official languages, of which I have just captioned GOL. Official language communication I have also captioned as OLC, and I'll look at the advantages. I'll move on to the fourth slide, which will talk about Africa and its culture, then the effect of the official language communication on Africa and its culture. Number 6 will be conclusion and some recommendations for all of us who are Africans, so that we will be able to use the official language communication fruitfully rather than destructively for our various countries in Africa. And I will move on to number 7, contributions and questions if applicable. And finally, I have a list of references of which I have collected some of the ideas. Now I move on. First slide. Language is one of the most important tools in our interaction with others. And without language, it is highly unlikely that human civilization will have developed as it has over the millenniums. For most people, being able to communicate in one language is sufficient. This is especially so if the language is French, English, French, or German, all of which are internationally recognized languages. This is a quotation from Ivy Panda's publications in 2018, May 17. So it will say, saying that these 3 languages, English, French, and German, well, it's good for some people to communicate in their own languages. But if they don't use these 3 in the various countries wherein these, the origin of these 3 languages have colonized others, then it's going to be the difficulty in bringing people together, particularly in communicating. And I move on to an African writer, a Nigerian, Chinua Achebe. He wrote the book Things Fall Apart, but he made mention of something which is something on the contrary of what Ivy says. Things fall apart, Achebe mentioned, and I quote, "The white man is very clever. He came quietly and peaceably with his religion. We are amused at his foolishness and allow him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we are falling apart." From Achebe, and from what I learned from my teachers, they did say that Achebe mentioned the fact that the white man came, he brought religion, but when he brought religion, he brought it with a language. Religion was taught in English in the Anglophone countries, and in French in the Francophone countries. And these religions in Africa being taught in the official communication, which is English, French, they have contributed largely to put a knife on the things that held us together. our traditions, our culture, even our foods. Some foods we have been, they are prohibited to be eaten in Africa. And this is what Achebe was saying. Now I move on to the second point, which is global official languages, GOL. What is an official language? Official languages are those languages that hold special recognition by a specific political region or area. Secondarily, we say official languages are generally used in all government interactions, including court cases, administrative actions, and written laws and regulations, particularly in our continent, Africa. The designation of an official language does not dictate how civilians may communicate, but rather how the government will communicate with the civilians. And this is the problem with us in Africa. So a man can go into a court and will now have to listen to what the court will have to decide. But if he cannot speak the official language, for example, in my country, Sierra Leone, he has to have an interpreter. The court provides an interpreter who will interpret to him what the magistrate will say or what the judge will say. Same way in Francophone countries like Guinea, Conakry, closer to my country, Sierra Leone, this happens also when the Guineans go to court, the civilians, and they are now facing trial. They will not speak in French, those who cannot, except those who have gone to formal education. That's why I say global official language communication, which is the GOL. And so, again, the government will have to provide an interpreter. Now, global official languages. Now let us go by rank. Ranking, the first one is English. It's the official language of 59 sovereign countries in the world. And of these countries, 24 are located in Africa, 16 in the Americas, 12 in Oceania, 4 in Asia, and 3 in Europe. Second most popular language, which is the official language globally, is French. It's the next because it's of 29 countries, 13 of these countries. French is the only official language in those countries. And the remaining 16, it shares its distinction with one or more other languages. So now the official status now can be divided into, in the 21 countries, we have Africa, 21 countries in Africa, 5 in Europe, 2 in the Americas, and 1 in the Oceania. Arabic comes third in the list for the global official languages. And it is designated as an official language in 27 countries. Of these, 14 are located in Africa and 13 are in Asia. 22 of these countries are members of the Arab League. Now, if we put together the figures, 24 for English in Africa, 21 for French in Africa, 14 for Arabic in Africa, it is of 59 countries in which we say all of these languages are spoken in 59 countries in Africa. If we look at the holistic rank, we will now have, briefly, we have English, 59 countries, French, 29 countries, Arabic, 27 countries, Spanish, 21, Portuguese, 9, German, 6, on and on and on until the last 19th on the global official language, which is Romanian language in 3 countries. Now, there are advantages for official language communication, I know. And in the support for these arguments, Ivy Pandey, in one of his publications, he also mentioned that the official language are particularly English. There is a reason for supporting official languages, particularly English in the United States. The people in the United States have a variety of languages, and if all are spoken, then communication will be a challenge. There needs to be a unifying language like English so as to enhance the common good, since there will be more understanding between people and in the end, peaceful coexistence. So according to Ivy Panda, there should be official languages. That is good, we know, because there are lots of advantages. Similarly, in the United Kingdom, we know a lot of people are here currently in the United Kingdom, from India, China, Japan, Russia, African countries, etc., etc. And if we all allow them to speak their languages, then what is going to be the essence of the United Kingdom? How can they communicate to each other? And there will be no peaceful coexistence. I think Ivy Pandey's assertion makes a point. But let me look at few advantages of the official language communications. One, When people communicate using the official language, for example, either English, French, Arabic, or you name it, it will encourage unity among nations. Today, we have the League of Nations, we have United Nations, and we have also the Arab Leagues, all because of similar languages. And so nations come together because they can communicate with a certain medium which is acceptable as an official language. Secondly, official language communication promotes literacy in schools and other educational institutions. For instance, in my country, Sierra Leone, because English is an official language, and due to our colonization by British, we are able to communicate with other countries that are being colonized by Britain, and they also have in their schools and other educational institutions English. And so literacy goes on and on. And so we measure how literate people are by the number of people in the country who are able to speak and write English. That's why we say official language communication promotes literacy in schools and other educational institutions. Thirdly, as an advantage, official language communications provides additional financial benefit through employment. Interestingly, when jobs are advertised in Africa, wherein we have, for example, in Guinea, you have an Ivory Coast, Senegal, the official language is French, they advertise in French and they give priority to those who can speak French. So if you are there and you're going to work in a French company and the job is being advertised, your chances to get the job become so low. Similarly, in the English-speaking countries, and then you will have more time, at least, to more chances to be employed. Number 4, the official line communication reduces and manages conflict. People who speak the same language in most cases tend to laugh to each other and are at peace than those who cannot speak this similar language. And when somebody who doesn't, in fact, speak your language, as an official language, for example, a Frenchman sits by an Englishman, they can't understand each other. When the Frenchman laughs, the Englishman will feel that the Frenchman is provoking him, and this is not fair. And this happens at a lower level and even at a higher level. Fifthly, official language communication promotes international games and sports. Interestingly, when even we have friendly games, Francophone countries like to play, for example, a team from Ivory Coast and a team from Guinea, Conakry, and a team from Senegal and Mali will be readily accepted in France to play a friendly match, more than a team coming from Sierra Leone, a team coming from Ghana, a team coming from Liberia, because of the difference in Francophone and Anglophone. Furthermore, it improves further education through research, trainings, conference, workshops, etc. When workshops are conducted in English, interestingly, only countries who have English as their official country will have more chances to, in fact, take part. Similarly for trainings, conferences, and workshops, and it goes for French and it goes for Arabic. Africa and our culture. Let me look at NABOFA, who in 1988 made a contribution in terms of what is culture. According to NABOFA, and I quote, African culture heritage embraces all aspects of African life. It involves people's history, philosophy, poetry, psychology, medicine, and healthcare delivery, ecology, various arms of the traditional government, ethics, economic and social activities, education, military strategies, mathematics, sometimes called numerology, astrology, arts in various forms, and even including science and technology, quote unquote. NABOFA, MY 1988, pages 92 to 93. From this quotation, we can say culture is a concept that is acknowledged universally. Its phenomenal relevance varies from society to society. What is acceptable in one society may likely be an abomination in the other. It so happens in Africa. There are certain foods we eat in one place, they don't eat them in another place. And so even Indians, when they find themselves, for example, to our country, you have to locate where the Indian temple is, or the Indian cities are, for example, in Sierra Leone, because there are certain foods which they are used to, they will look forward to eating them. And if they don't get them, they will not be comfortable. And so we say, what is acceptable in one society may likely be an abomination in the other. Furthermore, one sociologist called Tyler made a quotation about culture, and he says, culture is a complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, moral law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Quote unquote, Tyler, 1958. In addition, Malinowski also gave a definition of culture as a functioning, active, efficient, well-organized unity, which must be analyzed into component institutions in relation to one another, in relation to needs of human organism, and in relation to the environment, man-made as well as natural. Malinowski, 1931. From these quotations I have just given and others that I have not quoted, we can now infer that culture is an all-embracing concept having a broad interpretation. Culture embraces religious beliefs, what people believe in Africa and also the other continents, languages, of which my topic is basically looking at, dresses, style of living, political organization, and all other aspects. And I want to assure the people, listeners and viewers, that it is these areas that this official language communication will try to destroy. The religious beliefs, because churches will be open so that they can move things on. And also even in churches, they speak English, either English or French, because of the official languages. And the way of dresses, people now dress in a way different to African dress, but moves to the dresses where the official language comes from. The style of living again, even political organization change, and all other aspects of life are being covered. And this is really a problem. There is an effect on all official language communication on Africa and its culture, because one, there is a disregard for one's family and benefactors. In the African society, when one man succeeds, it means the success of everybody in the family. And we have, in fact, a saying that when one man succeeds, it is the blessings of all the others that are being taken and added to him. So he has to take care of his family as well as his benefactors. If he fails to do that, the African family will not look at him as a successful man. So success in Africa is basically when you are able to not only take care of yourself, but your family and the benefactors surrounding you. Secondly, the online official language communication has a disregard for humanity and brotherhood. In Africa, we have a highest regard for humanity and brotherhood before the official language communication. When Africans live in the suburbs, they used to be together. When one man dies, nobody goes to work. Everybody sit down and they share the sympathy of what happens. Everybody becomes so pathetic on the situation rather than moving around. But today, because of this official language communication, one person can die in a particular village and the others can go to work. And even others go on to celebrate naming ceremonies and also to celebrate birthdays, which is not good. Where is the humanity for Africa? Where is the brotherhood? Today, because of these new languages called official languages, because we are now forced to communicate in our schools, we now go back and do not honor humanity and brotherhood. Furthermore, there is a disregard for communalism, for individualism. People no longer look at the community as something very, very important, rather individualism. Rather than people building buildings that will serve the community, they rather build skyscrapers for their own personal living and families. And this is not good, but this was not Africa. Africa in those days was Africa in which they built at least town halls for everybody. People gather in the playground so that they can be together as communities, not as individuals. Furthermore, the official language communication has an effect on Africa, particularly on traditional religion and its value. I want to inform viewers that before the advent of official languages, there have been traditional religions in Africa. Even though the Europeans or the first world countries now that colonize Africa, they regard to it as primitive religions. No, these religions are the religion that brought us together. Our great forefathers used to come together because of these traditional religions. And there are specific songs we sing. And there are, of course, specific dances they dance. And this brings them together. And the value of those songs go a long way. The values of the food they eat there go a long way. And when you have a child, you must go all out to bring the child to the traditional religion. Today, official language communication has contributed to eliminate this traditional religion gradually, as well as its value. Another point I would like to bring out is public economy. There is a disregard for public economy by individuals. Instead of individuals in Africa today working for the public to enjoy, they work for themselves to enjoy. So now the idea of self surpasses the idea of for all of us. The other point I look at is traditional education. In Africa, we know for sure, every society starts with a family. It moves with religion. It moves with education, and then go through the economy and politics. But when in terms of education in Africa, before official language communication advent into Africa, people are educated. A farmer will take his child to the farm so that the child will learn how to farm. And a man who is a builder will take his child to his building site and teach him how to build. And a man who has been the herbalist will train his child how to trace those herbs that will use, thanks to those who are now still using them, for example, India and China. And these herbs are doing very good. First and foremost, they are very cheap, and people can afford them. And in fact, in terms of the traditional medicine they provide this traditional medicine sometimes free of charge to community members as a way to say that we are contributing to communities. Today, children no longer want the traits of their fathers. A farmer who has a child will now want his child to go to the white man's school and learn the official language English and learn French and sometimes Arabic. And when these children go to those schools, they go back. Their father asks them, come and help me to work in the farm. They tend to say, no, I have to study my book. And so when even children leave school, they come back, they spend more time in their books rather than spending time with their fathers. And the fathers become old, so as the mothers. And this is a big problem in Africa. Children no longer help their people because they no longer value traditional education due to official language communication. The last one I will bring is traditional politics, leadership, and values. In primitive Africa, so the white man calls it, or we will say the ancient Africa, our political leadership was purely on selection. People go all out to listen to the evil forest, what they will dictate to say, this time we are going to have leader A instead of leader B. And so when a leader dies, there is no fight for power. But today, this official language communication has brought in a new system called elections. And these elections are now bringing in enmity into many, many clans in Africa. Taking, for example, what is going on now in the Nigerian situation, we have three key political parties: the All People's Congress, which is the incumbent political party, the party in power, and we have the People's Democratic Party, which was ousted before the APC. And thirdly, we have the Labour Party led by a man called Obi. And now people are moving from one political party to another, which doesn't happen in terms of traditional political leadership in Africa. Today, official language communication comes in play. When even people go to the square, those meeting place to talk, they speak English. They hardly speak their language, Igbo. Similarly in Sierra Leone, people expect us to speak either English or Pidgin English. So I think official language communications have got a drastic effect on our family and benefactors, because we no longer have regard for them. 2, the humanity and brotherhood has gone down. 3, communalism for individualism has taken place. Again, a drastic effect on traditional religion and its value. We no longer value traditional religion. Instead, we look at the official language communication religion. Public economy is put aside, and people look for individual economy. They work for themselves, not for the entire public. Traditional education, again, down. And finally, traditional political leadership and values go down. Let me conclude by making the following recommendations. I will say, despite the advantages and benefits of official languages, we as Africans or other people who have the passion for language should do some or all of the following. One, local languages must be taught in schools and colleges. As I'm talking to you now, in my country, Sierra Leone, we have, like Nigeria, there are schools and colleges where they teach our local languages. Otherwise, the local language will disappear. So African stories and some official language books must be written in local languages. I know for sure it's going on in Nigeria, and it's also has to spread through other countries. Same way in South Africa, some books are written in Swahili. And we now move on to African families abroad must speak their local language in their homes. In my current stay in the UK, I visit some families, they come from my country, Sierra Leone. The children cannot even speak their local languages. And it happens. It happens for many, many families here in the UK, Indian families, Chinese families, some of them find it difficult. But when children leave from the school, they go back to the homes, they don't speak the local language. So I am recommending that African families abroad must speak their local languages in their homes in abroad. Furthermore, I recommend that African families living in cities must speak their local language in their homes. Let's leave the first world and go back to our countries. I go back to Sierra Leone, I go back to Nigeria, I go back to Ghana, I go back to Guinea, I go back to Ivory Coast. All of these countries have cities. For example, in Sierra Leone, we have Freetown. What is happening now is that when children are born in Freetown, which is the capital city, they find it difficult to speak even their local language. They behave as if they are in first world countries. What is the problem? The problem simply means the fathers and mothers speak pidgin English to them rather than speaking the local language to them. And because they don't speak this local language, the children don't know it. And when even you greet them in the local language, they tend to ask you, what are you saying in English? Furthermore, I'll recommend that Africans abroad must train their children in the African way to a certain extent, because we have human rights limitations. We know for sure there is a saying that in Africa, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. But it doesn't happen now. There is no way, no more corporal punishment in schools, because when you beat a child, then you violate the child's human rights, and you are to be punished by law. So I am recommending that to a certain extent, Africans should train their children in the African way, even the way of greetings. Because if we train our children in the African way, they greet elders. Not like when now we are in the UK, the US, the children no longer greet their elders. They just pass. To them, hi is a greeting. Hello is a greeting. But it doesn't happen like that. We go down, for example, in African side like Nigeria, so we bow down for the ladies, and men bow their heads for the boys to greet elders. Furthermore, African children born in cities or abroad must be encouraged to visit their parents' home, village, and country. And one main thing in which children get away from their culture because of the official languages, moving ahead to speak either English, French, or Arabic, is when they are born in these cities or they are born abroad. The very parents don't take the children to their villages or their hometowns for Christmas. They don't take them for other occasions. And the children don't know anything about those countries. And they find it difficult to learn their ways. They find it difficult to appreciate even the way people dress. And so when they look on videos, on movies about African dressing, they tend to laugh and say, look at the man dressed primitively. Not forgetting that its origin is Africa. This is the end of my recommendation. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone. And I may invite questions or contributions on the topic official language communication and its effect, and effect on formal education as a factor of cultural elimination in Africa. I want to thank the listeners and viewers, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I will be grateful to be joining you at any point in time, given the opportune time. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mai Bangura. It was really, every language across the world is facing this problem. The problem of official languages, especially international languages, are being used more and more. And lack of, as you have rightly pointed out, even in imparting education, we lack textbooks and reference books in our own languages. that is also becoming hindrance to impart higher education, especially. So I think indigenous languages and native languages need to be protected, promoted. Maybe as a language, native language users, or we need to have some advocacy regarding promotion of native languages, whichever language it is, because we have rich diversity of languages across the planet, as you have already mentioned. We need to protect these languages and bring them at least, okay, for the purpose of job or profession, we can use international languages, but at home we can continue to use our native languages so that we can take this language to future generations and upcoming generations. So you have rightly pointed out various challenges that are being faced by especially native languages. Maybe in coming days, we have to see how a lot of languages are disappearing. And we really, I mean, across the world, language activists are also worried because of this trend. And how are the languages especially seen, I mean, with respect to of higher education? I mean, what disciplines do we still have language books available? Professor, can you just give some insights, or still it's the same problem there also?
Interestingly, for example, I'm happy with your contribution because most of the professors, they leave Africa and come to the first world to have further research and also to have gainful employment. They tend to write most of their books in the official languages. And they don't know even, it's a matter of not knowing how to write in their local languages. Because for you to write in a local language, you have to learn the alphabet of the local language. And when you don't learn them, when you write, people find it difficult even to understand what you have written. So the difficulty for writers of books, the difficulty of professors in higher education in trying, in fact, to support this argument is basically on the fact that they cannot even write using the alphabet of their local languages. Same way, of course, in India, you have your various languages, local languages, and also, for example, in Nigeria, you have local languages. Others who went through the official language communication and have no regard for their local languages, when they are asked to write in the local languages, the topic is not interesting to them. They tend to say, well, I have no time for that. Thanks to God, now that even Bibles in my country are written in some of the local languages, because these ones will help the children to appreciate. But again, it goes up to us in the higher level, in terms of those who are the tutors, in terms of those who are the lecturers. Yeah, because when this official language goes on, something I failed to mention about is on slide 5, is the loss of the local language. Like you mentioned, there will be a gradual elimination of our local languages because children will go on and on. For example, in the book African Child, which is translated in French as L'Enfant Noir, but they say the black child, the African child really living Guinea for further education. You will now see that at least he will now read French, and forgetting those other languages like Madinka, Soso in Guinea. And so for him to sit down and write books now in Madinka, look as a local language, or write Soso as a local language in Guinea, it's become so difficult. Similarly, for example, my country, Sierra Leone, there are writers of books, for example, Joe Ali, who have written extremely in English. And so when it comes to writing some of those scripts in other languages, for example, in the country like Mende and Creole and also Timni, it becomes so difficult. And I do believe it happens almost everywhere in the globe. But the country where these official languages come, no problem. But another point I would also bring, there will be some sorts of marginalization and discrimination. When even people apply for job, like I mentioned, that if you do not qualify to be an English speaker, even for migration purposes, if you don't come from an English-speaking country or a country wherein the official language is English or French, then there is discrimination. Your application for visa will have a question, except otherwise. There is, of course, I will also mention lots of respect for elders and authority. Majority of those countries in Africa that have official languages and pay premium to the official languages, their kids lost respect for elders and as well as authorities. If they don't go home from school, they go very late. The elders talk to them, they don't look at it. And in some cases, there is increased indiscipline among youth, women, and children because these official languages already highlighted, they go with human rights prescriptions. And these provisions are being sent to various countries so that they can nationalize them. And the indiscipline goes on. Youths now go unpunished, same way for women. The fight for the 50-50 goes on. When in Africa, we had no 50-50 for women, but today, women ask for 50-50. And likely, and also children will go to school, they learn the official language, and they find it difficult even to lay hands on the official local language books. So the books in the library are mostly official language books. They are either written in French, English, or Arabic, or Spanish to a certain extent. But you will hardly find, except 1 or 3 areas, copies of the local languages. We are now we should now encourage professors to engage in research in their local languages so that this will help to restore the value and dignity of the culture of Africa. That's my contribution on that.
Thank you, Professor. Rightly said, we need to take initiatives so that, at every stage of education, including primary, secondary, or higher education, more language resources and teaching learning material should be made available. That is the initial step where we can take the languages forward to future generations. You have rightly pointed out, and there is a serious threat coming to all languages. Many languages got eliminated, and now few more languages are in the process. So it is high time that we all need to come all the languages and also have a common medium where more resources can be available. With the availability of artificial intelligence and other tools also, we have we can understand, like Google Translate and various other tools are available where it is bridging the gap between the native language learners and international and other languages. So that shouldn't be really a barrier of promoting native languages. So maybe we need to promote more such tools and bring in more such tools and applications so that we can continue to use our native languages along with the official and international languages. Hope we'll come up with more such solutions. And this today's presentation has really thrown light in promoting such initiatives. It was very nice, wonderful session listening to you, Professor.
Thank you.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself and you can share your observations, comments, queries, if any, with the professor. You can interact with the professor. Yeah, Marymel, you can unmute.
Good evening, Professor. I learned a lot from this session because it's new topic for me. So I learned a lot. It's brought a lot of insight and I gained a lot of knowledge. Hope to see you in more sessions, Professor. Wonderful, incredible sessions. Hope to see you more times in our international conference. All the best, Professor. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, anyone else would like to share your observations? Feel free to share in chat box, or you can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself. There are few appreciation messages appreciating your session, Professor, in chat box.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's been really very insightful session, and we learn what are the things which going on in your place and what are the preliminary things you process to follow. It's been really very wonderful session, giving loads of information on the whole concept. Thank you so much, sir. It's been good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manasa. And thank you, Sujata, for your wonderful message, and others for your positive responses and wishes to Professor. So if there are no further queries, then we can move on. So thank you, Professor, once again.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you.
very happy to see you on this platform, and we look forward for more sessions in the future, and we wish you all the success for your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for joining us on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri
Thank you.
Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. Oh, yes, you're most welcome. Thank you.
So have a great day. Good night.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to receiving the recorded video, please.
Sure, Professor. We'll be sharing you in your WhatsApp.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form
Okay.
for the session so that we can prepare certificates for you all.
All right. Okay. No problem.
Feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. You can see a window has been opened in your Zoom app
Okay.
in the form of polls, overall feedback form. Kindly fill up the feedback form.
Okay. I'm going to do that. So I fill it and I send him.
Yeah, Professor, if you'd like to fill it, you can fill the details and submit.
Okay. I'm going to do that now.
Dear friends, feedback form has been shared in the form of polls in Zoom platform. It is mandatory. It is through this form we get the data to be prepared for the certificates. So we request everyone to complete the feedback form. Dear friends, feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. in Zoom platform. We request everyone to complete the feedback form. YouTube link has been shared in the chat box. For those who would like to listen to this session at any time, it's available on the YouTube. The link has been shared. It is also streaming live on YouTube. And for those who have not registered for the webinar, kindly register with the registration link provided in the chat box. We are waiting for the participants to fill up the feedback form, Professor. If you have completed, you can leave as per your convenience.
Okay.
Thank you. It was once again, we thank you on behalf of everyone, and we invite you for further sessions. And when you happen to visit India, do inform us so that we can meet personally and have more collaborations with us.
Yeah, I'll be happy to visit India, but I would like an invitation from your university so that I'll come over.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you too much.
Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. So after a wonderful session by Professor Mai Bangura from Africa. So we will continue with our today's commemorations. Today is International Choreographers Day. And in US, it is National Clean Your Desk Day and National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day and Balloon Ascension Day and Coming of Age Day. This is in Japan. And National Apricot Day in US and National Fourth Graders Day in US, National Static Electricity Day, US, and National WordNet Day, US. And today, one of the craziest day, No Pants Subway Ride Day in US, and Play God Day in US, and Plow Monday in UK. So let's quickly look at these commemorations. So International Choreographers Day is celebrated across the globe as choreographers are the masterminds behind all the beautiful dance choreographies. And routines, we see the creative genius behind designing, planning, and arranging different movements together. Many prominent choreographers have emerged and started revolutionary dance companies that are still running today. Choreographers paved the way for many to come after them. They bring art to life, and International Choreographers Day is a day of celebration and appreciation for them. So evidence shows that dance has been used for cultural, religious, and communicative purposes since the beginning of time. Social, celebratory, and ritual dances are also some of the most important factors in the development of early human civilizations. Since dance cannot leave historical evidence, secondary sources inform us of its existence and spread. Some of the earliest evidence of dance comes from temple carvings in ancient India and Egypt. Ritual dances were part of ancient Greece and even performed there before the opening of the Olympic Games, kind of like present day opening ceremony performances. Dance was also done for entertainment purpose. There is even evidence of Greek celebration that entailed drinking and dancing for weeks straight. So dance made its way across the globe for different purposes. With time, there was an explosion of new dance forms and music, and it became structured as people explored more. The rules and characteristics of different dance forms became evident. The interaction of dance, music, and performance became more intertwined, and artists started showing their choreographic vision. In the 1900s, the word choreography and choreographer came into use. The world of choreography took a new form. So this day, International Choreograph Day, began to celebrate it every year on January 9th to celebrate this artist. A National Clean Your Desk Day. So clean off your desk takes place on second Monday of January each year. So when was the last time you cleaned out of your workspace? Did you know the average work desk can be 100 times filthier than a kitchen table? Nasty, right? But there's more. A work desk is probably 400 times less hygienic than an average toilet seat. Hygienic surroundings keep us free from all kinds of diseases. So a clean workspace unclutters and inspires. And scientific research says tidy desks make you more efficient. So take time today for some thorough decluttering and cleaning. Remember, a messy desk is an invitation to chaos. A clean desk, on the other hand, helps you to focus, to be more productive, and generally makes you feel good about your workspace. So we say clean, we don't mean just physical clutter. That's correct. Your computer desktop counts too. Drag those files into a neat folder, a nice folder. It is essential to have paper or proper work space for anyone to be productive. Your workstation is your work zone, and if it is not functional, it can impede creativity, the completion of tasks, and workflow. Think about it. Don't we all just hate it when we can't find a pen or when an important document is buried under the clutter of our desk? It is proven again and again that a well organized space boosts productivity and allows workers to better focus on work. It's quite therapeutic. The word desk was coined in the 14th century, but only became widely used in the 18th century. Desks were mostly used by legal professionals and clergymen, but today they are found almost everywhere. After the Industrial Revolution, work shifted from intense physical labor to desktops. Before computers came mainstream and most work went digital, drawers, a lot of them were the way to go for organizing workspaces. After computers became the norm, Unnecessary paperwork was gradually disposed of, but with the many USBs and plugins required for maintaining data digitally, we still end up with messy desks. Students and creative people such as artists, writers, makeup artists, etc. are among those with messy desks. Given how important it is to be focused and achieve our work goals, it is wise to spend some time cleaning and organizing our desks rather than wasting hours searching for missing items. But here's why we should do a thorough job of it today. The average work desk can be 40 times filthier than a toilet. As gross and dramatic as statistics might be, they are unfortunately true. Most germs thrive on computers and keyboards. Today's good day to give your laptop a thorough cleaning. What's more, people who work in cluttered environments often suffer from unrecognized stress. Random items, documents, and scraps of paper can slowly pile up on your desk. They are not just unappealing to look at, but extremely stress inducing. Cluttered desks are just plain inefficient. Whether it's the notepad when I need it, or when you need it, or you could swan that file was right there, and it's stuff of nightmares, especially when you are past or pressed for time. Modern lifestyles are synonym with stress. The good news is that we can elevate much of it through small actions, like working in clean and bright spaces have been proven to reduce stress. Tiny desk first thing each morning can instantly uplift moods. And want to take it one step further? Adorn your desk with indoor plants or seasonal flowers, or prop up a favorite piece of art or pictures of your loved ones. Clean aesthetically pleasing desk can do wonders for motivation and productivity levels. And today is National Law Appreciation Day, Enforcement Appreciation Day. If you have a police officer or as a friend or as a family member, it is a perfect time to show officers we understand how difficult their job is. So important to show officers how much we understand their difficult work and appreciate their sacrifice and risk. Whether it is civil unrest, labor strikes, huge sporting events, or just helping a cat to get down from a tree, law enforcement officers are a critical part of our lives, woven into everyday fabric of living in US. They keep out our neighborhood safe and help ensure that whatever it is need to do, you can do with peace of mind. National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was created by multiple organizations in 2015 to express their gratitude for officers in the United States. In support of their services, citizens are encouraged to do their part in thanking the law enforcers on this day. One of the main organizations to take lead is the COPS, in short, Concerns of police survivors. According to them, law enforcement officers need to be shown that the difficult career path they chosen is recognized by the people who protect and uphold the law. The holiday was triggered by the chain of events in 2014 when a police officer was involved in a crossfire shooting in Missouri. The backlash and violence that followed this event led cops to take the initiative to change this negative portrayal of police officers in the news in recent years into a positive one. With over 9 lakh officers in the United States, the organization believes it is essential to support law enforcement during difficult times, and a holiday dedicated to them does just that. So the day also raises awareness on the importance of understanding that difficult decisions taken by police officers are in best interest of the citizens and law. And today is also Balloon Ascension Day. to commemorate the first manned balloon flight to ever take place in America. The first balloon ascension event was witnessed by President George Washington, who was a patron of aviation pioneers. He was fascinated by the tales of Frenchmen who pioneered hot air ballooning and was keen to help him to do so in America. This assisted the balloonist, who did not speak English, greatly when he landed on American soil with a letter from Washington explaining his mission. And it is an annual celebration established to honor the brilliant work of Jean-Paul Blanchard. He was a French aeronaut and inventor who in 1793 made the first manned balloon trip in America. He is generally regarded as the inventor of balloon flight. Balloon Ascension Day was initiated on the same day he took to the sky in 1793, January 9th. During the first manned balloon trip in America, Belcher stood opposite the Walnut Street prison located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A relatively large number of people, including the President of the United States, George Washington, watched him mount and fly his hydrogen-filled gas balloon 200 fathoms or 1,200 feet over the earth. Ever since 2011, the day has been observed to commemorate the first manned balloon flight in the United States and also encourage participation and foster interest in the field of aeronautics. So this is not only considered America's first aerial voyage, it is also known to has helped solidify the United States' reputation as a country for innovative and great technological advances. On National Balloon Ascension Days, we are expected to go out and conquer our fears of traveling in hot air balloon. We can take beautiful selfies for social media or watch other people mount and have their first experience flying in hot air balloon. And today is also Plough Monday. Is the old British harvest tradition that marks the start of the agricultural season. The day is a celebration for farm workers. They toured villages with a plough, singing and dancing their way though, raising money. And if you weren't a sport, chances were revelers would plough up your gardens. In case that happened, participants usually blackened their faces with soot to avoid being recognized. The unique festival all but died out in the 18th century. Thankfully, places like East Anglia and East Midlands still keep the tradition alive. Villagers unwilling to donate face the possibility of having their gardens plowed. So entire villages would join in the fun. The plough boys often came with colorful entourage too. One of the most popular characters was a fool, a person dressed like an animal, carrying a pig's bladder on the end of the stick. Sometimes molly dancers would also accompany the workers to entertain for money. All the dancers blackened their faces with soot, preventing future employers from recognizing them. In the past, communities performed a series of plays on Plough Monday. The performances were popular in East Midlands, Lincolnshire, and Nottinghamshire. Story elements usually depicted the death and resurrection of the primary characters. It is mainly in UK. And today is also National Word Nerd Day in US. Whether you always know what to say or you often end up with your foot in your mouth, words are essential to our success and progress. So this day gives us the chance to learn some new words, use some old ones, and maybe even borrow them for someone else. We got some birdies ways to spend your day and verbose views to how to celebrate this National Word Day. Humans have communicated since we first walked on earth. Though our early language was nowhere near as complex as the systems of words we use today, once our basic vocabulary range was no different from the of great apes. Was as we advanced, we did our language. So with developments in our lifestyle, we needed to be able to name things, communicate ideas, and express ourselves to aid our advancement. Words and language became increasingly important, yet it took many centuries until they were considered important enough to document. During the medieval period, the written word was considered a luxury, with only the rich or the anointed able were able to read and write in a sophisticated way. As such, the majority was only able to enjoy words through oral storytelling, like Shakespeare and other great wordsmiths used their love of words to delight audiences in the theaters, even inventing words for use in their work. So today is also National Static Electricity Day in US. Um, it is dedicated to the funny and sometimes annoying electrical charge phenomenon and learning why and how it happens. Humans are no strangers to static electricity since we can see, feel, and hear its effects in most cases. Static electricity is around us in more forms than just static shock. It is quite useful and harmless. So static electricity refers to an increased electric charge present on the surface of an object. This charge either remains on said surface, travels to the ground, gets discharged, or transfers onto another object. When you rub two objects together, they acquire equal and opposite charges and developing an attraction. So when simply put, opposite attract, and the electrical force is basically an attraction between opposite charges. Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus was the first to mention static electricity in his accounts. While cleaning his amber, he found that smaller dust particles would start sticking to it when he rubbed it. This was followed up 300 years later when Theophrastus rubbed different stones together to observe this power of attraction. None of them, however, went to research this phenomenon in depth. So around 2000 years later, once the term electricity has been coined, there was a room for deeper understanding and research of the concept. German scientist Otto von Guericke started researching static electricity. French physicist Charles Augustin de Coulomb researched a fixed quantity of static electricity, and American scientist Benjamin Franklin associated static electricity with storms. Another key player was scientist Michael Faraday, who proved that electricity from a magnet, voltaic electricity produced by a battery, and static electricity are the same. Once there was more understanding of the concept, static electricity started being used in magic tricks, innovations, etc. Today, we are surrounded by static electricity in our daily lives. It is often mistaken to be merely static shock, but it is so much more. Today is also National Apricot Day in US. Apricots, often confused with their sister fruit peaches, are juicy golden orange fruits that emerge in spring. They are delicious, healthy, versatile, and a fan favorite in many different forms. The apricot is a member of Rosaceae or the rose family, along with over 4,000 other species of plants. Apricots belong to a subdivision of fruits with this family known as drupes, having a thin skin, pulpy middle, and a harder center with the seed. Some other groups related to apricots are plums, peaches, and cherries. You can find several varieties of apricots. They are all delicious. Apricots mature faster than their other spring fruits and become available as early as March in certain parts of the world. Not only they are delicious by themselves, but they are also important in culinary world. Chefs have been exploring apricot uses for thousands of years. What makes it even better is the fact that apricot has a myriad of health benefits too. So Play God Day is also observed today. As the name suggests, it's a reenactment of some sort. This day is there to do something nice for someone other than yourself. The idea behind it is to play God for someone doing something that reflects or represents God's blessings. So, what would you do if you were God for a day? We came up few suggestions like paying for someone's meal or groceries, offering to help someone in need, even if it's just to cross the street or getting involved in social issues that will make a lasting impact. The possibilities are endless. Each culture and religion has its version of God, and there are even subversions within these cultures and religions. In fact, there is no real consensus on what or who God is. While there are main characteristics of God that differs groups agree on, each individual has their meaning and beliefs in a general sense. However, it is commonly believed that God stands for a higher power, has an eternal and essential existence, is omnipotent, omnipresent, and is creator of all beings. Additionally, there is a widely shared faith in God to bless and guide everyone through the good life. But the concept of Play God Day doesn't come from a particular religious or cultural belief, but from the basic idea that God is good to everyone and we should be too. Play God Day is a day to make a kind gesture without a selfish intent, much like God would. These gestures don't have to be miraculous or life changing. All you have to do is make someone's day just a little bit better than it would be otherwise. Just imagine what it would be like to be a god for one day. Think about the things you would do or the problems you would fix. While several of those things may be out of your ability as a human, there will be some things that you can take baby steps towards this day, on this day. So, for instance, if you would eliminate world hunger as God, donate to a food bank on a Play God Day. While we don't need an excuse to be nice to others, Play God Day is a great opportunity to do so and start from today. And today is also National Fourth Graders Day in US. Fourth grade students are taking on more challenges in math, reading, writing, social studies, science, as well as art, music, world language, and physical education. They work hard, yet still are guided by a wonderful imagination. They really shine when they are in charge of their own learning and usually shimmer brightest when they are able to see or use their creativity along with their newly acquired skills. Fourth grade is a huge transitional stage for kids. Elementary school started getting promoted in the Mashards Bay colony in 1647. Since then, students have been stepping their way up the educational and social ladder. In fourth grade, academic expectations take a big leap. Friends become more genuine and personalities start taking shape. There is also more emphasis on writing in fourth grade, along with learning different writing styles. Kids have to write longer assignments and learn to be more organized. An important aspect of fourth grade is to introduce kids to a larger society, how to behave in social situations, honing their communication skills while interacting with others, creating lasting friendships, and respecting those in authority, starting with their teachers, building close relationships with their classmates and with the class teacher becomes more apparent. As children become more aware of their surroundings, this supportive and harmonious social environment encourages character development and personality growth in children to form what is essentially the extension of a happy family. Today is also coming of age day in Japan. So held every second Monday of January. It is most anticipated Japanese ceremonies for all who turned 20 the previous year. It is a coming of age party celebrated communally and as families. The women dons super expensive formal kimonos, furiso. They are photo shoots, prayers, parties to usher the young into adulthood. Reaching adulthood is an important, joyful milestone that affords you certain liberties as well as responsibilities. Reaching adulthood is a noteworthy new chapter worthy of celebrations. And in Japan, when age 20 hits, you can attend coming of age day ceremonies. Although the tradition of celebrating coming of age, Genpoku, had arguably been in existence since the late Asuka period, the first written ancient records traces back to 714 AD. Then the crown prince Obito decided his transitioning into adulthood was worthy of a total glam up, and he went all out, including new robes and a new hairstyle. So it is a full day with youngsters receiving a formal invite from their local government for a speech. Men either wear suits or stay true to their roots in traditional hakama trousers, while the ladies spend hours playing dress up, getting their hair done, and their elaborate kimono fitted. Events are rounded off by receiving inspiring talks, gifts being handed out, posing for photos and parties. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations, and thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful day. And feedback form has been raised in the form of polls in the Zoom platform. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, and see you all tomorrow at the same time with the same link with a different topic. Take care. Good night.